Good day, legends. It's Leslie here, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about lactate, VO2 max, lactate threshold, and a really cool workout that really helps train and build that threshold. So, to start with, I just want to go through a little bit of the science without trying to get too in depth into the science, because I can really go down that rabbit hole so easily. But ultimately, you would have seen through a lot of different stuff in the online world, things like VO2 max and lactate threshold. What I'm going to talk to you about first is lactate threshold. And what that is, it's the intensity above that level, large amounts of lactate begin to accumulate in the blood, literally as a byproduct of producing energy and producing our muscle movement. And that limit is expressed sometimes in terms of speed or pace, and other times it can be expressed in terms of percentage effort, PRE. It can actually, through the math, be correlated to heart rate, so which is, you can also use your heart rate zones. So in things like your Garmin watches or any other running watches, it uses heart rate to sort of delineate those levels. But ultimately, it's the point at which the body starts to become really inefficient with the way it is producing energy in an aerobic fashion, so using oxygen. And it means that you end up accumulating lots of lactate, which is what makes your legs feel heavy, because that's how we accumulate lactic acid. So from a marathon training point of view, and half marathon, any kind of endurance training, but you know me, I love the marathon, lifting this threshold helps. And it especially helps us run faster for longer. And that is because we're able to run at a higher intensity for longer. Because the aim of our game, when we are training for endurance, is really, it is all about being able to run further for longer at a higher intensity before we start accumulating all of these blood lactate levels. So it really is the aim of the game. Now, the key thing is here, and because we see it a lot in terms of technology that tracks things, our lactate threshold is not VO2 max. VO2 max is just a maximal oxygen capacity. It's the maximum rate at which our body can use oxygen to produce energy. It has got not a lot to do with our lactate threshold, except the fact that we often express our lactate threshold as a percentage of what the VO2 max is. The lactate stacker training, which I'm about to take you through, it helps us operate at thresholds that are a higher percentage of that VO2 max. And the reason why it does that is because literally our lactate threshold can be trained. Our VO2 max can be trained, but more importantly, our lactate threshold can be trained. As an example, elite marathoners will run their 42.2 kilometers or 26.2 miles, literally at 85-90% of their VO2 max. For someone like me, I'd probably be running my marathon at 70%. So if you can see that there's potentially 15 or 20% room there to gain, that is a huge advantage. So I'm going to go through some details of that lactate stacker workout. So in this workout, we're focusing on working hard, but for short bursts. And so by working at our max over short bursts, it helps train that threshold, and so then we can work harder over longer periods later. So in a practical sense, what we do is we work out at our max effort for 1 minute, and then we jog it out for 2 to recover. The 2 minutes jog is important. Those of you that know me know that it's important to jog out a recovery when you can. It is more efficient on the body. Our body uses oxygen better when we're jogging versus fast walking. Standing rests are okay, but the purposes of this, we really want to jog it out. It's max effort combined with 2 minutes jog to recover. So we build up the number of reps of these 1 on, 2 off over time. So we normally start with about 4 to 6 reps. We can build this up over time to up to 20 reps. So if we're talking intensity, and yes, it's sometimes hard to say, okay, what's my max? So if you want to aim for that 1 minute, to run that as fast as you can, but in a relaxed form. So you don't want to be straining. There is no point straining through this max effort. Okay, so we want relaxed, good form, push hard. We want to develop power in the muscles that we're going to use when we are running longer efforts. Now, we're not training, we're not sprint training here. This is still endurance training. Okay, so we're thinking, in my point of view, if we're looking at PRE, you probably want to start your first rep at 8 out of 10 because it means that you're not quite straining. And if you try and maintain that same rough feel over the rest, those last few reps will feel like 10 out of 10. It'll be really hard to maintain it if we start with that first rep as 10 out of 10, okay? If you want to use a watch as a guide, you need to be hitting heart rate zone 5 every time. Remember, the distance you run is not important, just the effort. Again, the pace you run is not important, it's the effort, okay? So the 2-minute jog recovery needs to be slow and easy. You need to get your breath back. Again, don't worry about the pace, don't worry about the distance. This is all about training different levels of intensity. We're training our energy systems in our body. And this is all happening at an incredibly cool cellular level. And I love the science, but I am not going to bore you with the detail. So the other cool thing is you can do this workout anywhere. You don't need an oval, although sometimes I do like to do this on soft on grass. But the key thing here is, because you're working hard, why don't you choose somewhere that you love to run, somewhere where you really enjoy running? That way the hard efforts won't feel doubly hard as running somewhere that you might feel is a bit more boring. Of course, I really need to emphasize here, it is super, super, super important to do a full warm up. So I'm thinking you want a good 10 to 15 minutes, up to 2K easy, plus you do the drills. In that, we've got our full set of drills, and there's a video on the YouTube channel that shows the full set of warm-up drills. And then another really important thing is the cool down. So another 10 to 15 minutes or a 2K cool down easy. As I mentioned, this session has a lot of science behind it. I will worry about that side as a coach. You guys don't need to do that, right? You just need to jump on sessions like these, and they will really push you to your limits. But just remember, this is designed to put you outside your comfort zone. So both physically and mentally. And by doing sessions like these are the sessions that make you faster. It's not about running your long runs faster to improve your pace at a marathon. It's about doing these kind of sessions and improving that lactate threshold. All right. See you all again later.